Alright, guys, this video is called Kira versus Kira is not close. It's about, I think, Kira from Death Note versus Kira from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And right off the back, I'm going to be honest with y'all. Anytime I hear Kira, I think Death Note. I started off watching anime with Death Note, kind of. And JoJo's wasn't until later. So, like, the Kira from Death Note rings more of a bell than the Kira from JoJo's. Although I like JoJo's more than Death Note. But I don't even know what they're debating because if it's like a fight, then fuck are they gonna? Fuck is that Light gonna do? Like realistically, what is Light gonna do? Nothing. Oh, let me get your name real quick. What was your name? What did you say your name was again?
Hearing the name Kira, two people come to mind: Death Note's Light Yagami and JoJo's Kira Yoshikage. But their crimes couldn't be more different. One was a self-proclaimed god that committed crimes on a global scale, while the other was an unsolved string of murders buried within the quiet and small town of Morio. So today's question isn't,
Oh, that's a good point. I don't think anybody ever solved those. I don't think anybody ever put two and two together. Well, the Joestars did, but I don't think they went public with that.
who is smarter, but rather whose case was truly harder to solve. Between L's relentless pursuit
Off the back, I think Kira, the real Kira, the guy that his actual name is Kira, was harder because proving the existence of stands, I believe, would be harder than proving the existence of the Death Note.
of light and Jotaro's investigation into Morio's lurking danger, which Kira case stands above the other. But before we start, if you have any video ideas, throw them in the Discord. That's where I'll be collecting all suggestions. And if you enjoy this kind of content, make sure to sub up. First, to measure which case would be harder to solve, we'll go through a few core categories and see how each holds up, especially if it wasn't someone like L or Jotaro leading the chase. Basically, if it was a regular police force trying to solve this case. The first category would be detectability, how much physical or circumstantial evidence exists, and how easy it is to even realize a murder happened in the first place. So, this includes cause of death, traceability, crime scene clues, and body discovery rate.
All right, cause of death, explosion. Unless you saw it happen, you would never know that Killer Queen did it. Traceability, it's untraceable. Crime scenes, clues. I don't think there is any clues. And body discoverability rate, again, none.
A crime place. So this includes cause of death, traceability, crime scene clues, and body discovery rate. A crime woman vanished from the small town of Morio without any trace. Not because the police were incompetent, but because there was nothing to actually find.
Bash, dude, no trace!
Erased the fact that a murder ever occurred. Even the first known killing, Reimi Sugimoto in 1983, was never filed as a homicide. The town simply moved on, unaware that a serial killer had lived among them for decades. However, as I covered in my Can L solve the Kira case video, even the world's greatest detective would have struggled to detect Kira's existence. Only someone with L's level of resources and intelligence could possibly identify the pattern. It would require data analysis, surveillance operations, and eventually hidden cameras across the town and homes of multiple suspects. This is because there weren't many surveillance cameras at the time.
The only reason L would lose is because, unlike Kira, Yoshikage Kira would absolutely take L out without hesitation. L is fucked, and it's just not even close.
And even then, success would depend on catching Kira Yoshikage in the fleeting moment before Killer Queen erased the evidence again. So, when judging by pure detectability, the visibility of the cause of death, the presence of the traceable evidence, and the likelihood of body discovery, Light's killings were highly identifiable but basically untraceable. Every victim's cause of death was clear and consistent. Every event was broadcast to the public, although later on he did change his patterns. Yet, the physical link to the killer was non-existent. In contrast, Kira Yoshikage's crimes were undetectable from the start. His victims left no physical trace of foul play.
And He's got that shit on. Y'all see the fit. Y'all see the, you know what? Bro, he's got that shit on. Oh my goodness. Look at this.
Hey, the cause of death was effectively erased, the crime scene never existed, and the body discovery rate was zero. Unless someone with L's resources and the authority to conduct mass surveillance intervened, Kira Yoshikage's murders would never even be recognized as murders at all. This category would go to Kira Yoshikage. Next, we move on to concealment and behavior. This is how well the killer hides their identity through personality, habits, and day-to-day normalcy. This includes how visible they are socially, how consistent their facade is, and whether psychological profiling could realistically expose them. Light Yagami's life was built on achievement. He was a top student in Japan, son of a respected police officer, and admired for his composure and intelligence. That reputation became his camouflage. Any investigator approaching him would see a high-performing young man with no criminal history, no erratic behavior, and no motive for violence. His social adaptability allowed him to disarm suspicion, as seen when he convinced Naomi Misora, an ex-FBI agent, to trust him long enough to reveal her real name. Even when placed under extreme surveillance, with 64 cameras hidden in his home, Light remained composed, creating
He would not have figured. I don't think he would have figured that out unless he had Ryuk.
layers of misdirection to frame his normalcy as authenticity. Although it is questionable in how he randomly laughs and screams and his family thinks nothing of it. However, Light's ego demanded validation, and his pride often dictated his choices. When faced with the Lind L. Taylor trap, he couldn't resist responding, revealing Kira's presence to L as well as the region he lives in. Kira Yoshikage, on the other hand, wasn't the kind of man who drew attention, well, for the most part. He lived alone, worked steadily, and maintained polite but distant relationships with colleagues. While they found him socially unapproachable, there was never any reason to think he was dangerous. Although one of the clearest cracks in Kira's concealment came at the bakery. He brought the severed hand of his latest victim with him, taking it out of his bag while browsing for bread. Without hesitation, he used a hand to pierce the plastic wrapping on a bread, all while other customers were inside and sunlight poured through the glass storefront. It was pure luck that no one saw him, or either his timing was perfect. So, for a man who spent years hiding perfectly in the background, that moment was an almost reckless lapse, a single slip away from his entire facade collapsing. Both men conceal well, but their behavior would be the dictating factor. Light Yagami was able to blend into most situations and earn people's trust. He handled suspicion with ease and could talk his way through almost anything, but his ego was always close to the surface. When challenged or provoked, that pride broke through. Kira Yoshikage lived on routine, built an ordinary life outside of his fetishistic obsession of women's severed hands. Although that quiet consistency made him nearly invisible. Light's behavior could adapt but not suppress his pride or ego. Kira's calm could hide anything, even his compulsions. In terms of concealment and behavior, both were convincing, but Kira Yoshikage's stillness makes him harder to read. Kira Yoshikage takes concealment and behavior. Next is counter-investigation tactics. This is how actively the killer manipulates.
I mean, Kira, like, literally said in the anime that he just wants to be left alone. Like, leave him alone. I think he would have been the problem for the Joe Bros. If they were just like, oh, this person exploded. Well, I got school tomorrow, so I better go study for exams.
Misleads or outsmarts the investigation once it begins. This includes deliberate traps, manipulation of authorities, and how adaptive or reactive the killer is to pursuit. Kira Yoshikage's tactics are defensive. When cornered, he narrowly escapes, changing faces, or bites the dust protects him by looping time and killing anyone who discovers his identity. But it's not so controlled. Light Yagami, on the other hand, studies the task force movements through his father's police access, letting him plan several steps ahead. When the FBI tell him, he stages the busjacking and the Ray Pemba encounter, an operation that gathers info while removing surveillance. His greatest tactic, the memory loss plan, even countered
That
and
was really good.
cornered the world's greatest detective. Light gives up ownership of the Death Note, acts as an innocent, then reclaims it when Task Force fully trusts him. Even the fake 13-day rule in the notebook is a trap that forces investigators to close a case on his terms. So, it's pretty safe to forces investigators to close a case on his terms. So, it's pretty safe to say Light Yagami wins this category. And finally, there's circumstantial difficulty. This category looks at the factors outside the killer's control, how the world, the rules, and luck itself shape the difficulty of their cases. Light Yagami's case operated on a massive scale. Hundreds of deaths happened worldwide, all with a consistent cause, sudden heart attacks, although later on he did change it. That level of exposure made the case both easier and harder. On one hand, there was an overwhelming amount of data and government involvement. The public nature of the killings made it impossible to ignore, ensuring endless media coverage and international cooperation. But that same visibility gave Light the perfect stage for misdirection. The supernatural nature of the Death Note meant there was no traceable weapon or cause of death, only patterns. Every investigator was fighting a battle against an unseen method, trying to explain something science couldn't. Despite this, the case was solvable through deduction, reasoning, and persistence. L's discovery, their broadcast tests, time analysis, and controlled experiments proved that even without understanding the notebook, human logic could still narrow down the suspect.
I think L could have. Jeez.
Now, let's
There you go. I think L could have. I think L could have tracked down Kira, but I don't think L could beat Kira at all, especially with Bites the Dust.
look at Kira Yoshikage. His crimes took place in a small town with no real investigative resources and no visible trail. Killer Queen left no forensic evidence. The only sign that something was wrong was a growing number of disappearances, but with no connection between victims, no one ever thought to investigate. The case relied almost entirely on chance. From Shigechi's encounter and the button he dropped became the only physical lead. There was also a ghost intervention from beyond the grave pointed the heroes in the right direction. Later, the time loop ability Bites the Dust made traditional investigation meaningless, killing witnesses and reversing time until Kira was accidentally exposed by his own arrogance and sheer coincidence. A child's plan, a mistimed boast, and a reversing ambulance. None of it could be predicted or replicated. When measured by
It is freaking hilarious how Kira died. Like, it's beyond funny.
Light's case is difficult because of its supernatural method, but still logically traceable. Kira's case is difficult because it exists in an evidence vacuum, governed by supernatural rules that actively erase any progress made against him. Light's downfall came through deduction. Kira's was through fate. Considering all of that, circumstantial difficulty would go to Kira Yoshikage. Kira Yoshikage's case required a lot of luck, supernatural intervention, and impossible coincidences to reach resolution. In a realistic world, his crimes would never have been solved at all. Both Kira cases tested logic in completely different ways. Light Yagami used strategy and manipulation, turning an international investigation into a game only he could control. His downfall came not from lack of skill, but from his own pride. Kira Yoshikage relied on silence, routine, and circumstances. His murders left no trace, his identity blended into the background, and his capture depended entirely on coincidence, as I'll say again, a child's quick thinking and pure luck. Therefore, the Kira Yoshikage case takes the win.
Hold the fuck
When
on.
hearing the
Could
name
L-
Kira,
Could L catch what? Kira, I don't know if Kira's lost with an asshole. Could L catch Diablo? I don't know about that. All right. Nucha, goaded, 17.8k followers, deserved. What do I need to do? All right, I think that was a goaded video. I liked it a lot, and it proved who the best Kira was. No, but I think like just like he says. I mean, I thought from the beginning that Kira, the real Kira, would ultimately take the win because it's just you literally, unless you know about the existence of stands. Well, actually, no. Even if you knew about the existence of stands, you most likely would not be able to prove that he was doing shit, or even know that he was doing shit, because he could just kill you. Just kill you. All right, like and subscribe for more content, and thank you for watching this video.